think what's all the Mad Men, I think the other thing about Bowie that's interesting is I think that in some regards, especially for the 1970s, so institutions, mental institutions, and quote unquote loony bins, right, were horrible places. 9 times out of 10, they were horrible. Horrible places, extremely abusive, not at all rehabilitative, very little actual psychiatric or psychological assistance or aid, really terrible torture of so many of these folks. And I think from the get-go, David Bowie, in some regards, had a very progressive vision. And I think Mad Men's a great example where he uses this term that he knows is a derogatory term. Like, he's not dumb, right? He knows that this is a thing. And his brother and his family are mired in it, and many of his friends and colleagues, musical colleagues, for lack of a better term, fellow rockers. But I think what's great is that he, in that song, is a great example. He admires, he knows that that people who have mental illness or struggle with this are not dumb. They are not angry. They are not stupid. They're not worthless, but that they just see the world differently. And the term we use today is differently abled. We celebrate all abilities, right? So we don't want to be ableist. So folks who might have autism, or who might have Down syndrome, or who might have schizophrenia, or whatever it is, whether it's a mental illness or whether it's a different kind of developmental disability, the idea that all of these folks are still just as brilliant and wonderful and talented in their way as the rest of us are. And we think we're so normal, but they might actually have a window into something else because their mind works differently from the way mine works. And I think All the Mad Men is such a great example of that, because he says, I'd rather be with them, right? They know what's up. Like, they're a little bit more in tune and in touch, right? Perhaps they've unleashed a different kind of creativity that we can't access, or because they're actually able to be ourselves, perhaps we're suppressing everything. I mean, they say we only use a certain percentage of our brain, right? And the rest of it is that we don't light it all up, right? But a lot of folks who have different kind of disabilities or mental illnesses, other parts of their brains light up. So, like, what are we missing? Maybe they're the ones that are right and we're the ones that are wrong. I think that's what's compelling about that particular song. And honestly, there's gems of that throughout that album, especially since that was obviously on his mind. But not, it was like, what do you do? I mean, Kurt Cobain, you can look at those lyrics, you can see that he was struggling, but you can never evaluate how much they're struggling and how much was he also just inhabiting, how much was Kurt Cobain inhabiting the Kurt Cobain persona. And I think that's the other neat thing about Bowie is Bowie's here and Ziggy is over here. The Tall Thin Duke is over here. You know what I mean? Like, he was able to, I think, get some distance from whatever it is that he was experimenting with and going through far more successfully than most. Because a lot of people are performing themselves or a version of themselves, whereas he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to go to Mars.